Welcome to the Assisted Living Podcast. Today I have a special guest, Amanda Vega. She owns Lotus Home Care. We've known each other in the industry for many, many years. So we're going to talk about private duty today versus what skilled home health is. And I know a lot of people have a lot of questions when it comes to that. And also, who covers private duty, right? Well, private duty is private pay, but there's also long-term care insurances out there that help you pay for these services. So Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
The audience know a little bit about you. How did you get into the business and what is it exactly that you do now?
So I founded and started Lotus Care at home. I was actually raised by my grandmother after when I turned 15 years old. So that really changed the course of my life a little bit. And I really started to have a better understanding of elderly care and just the needs that, people have and families have when they need care at home. And especially having somebody come into your home to provide care and to be in your space, you have to have a lot of trust and, actually enjoy the company of that person and really entrust that person to take care of your family member. My grandmother actually used to take people out with a broomstick. She's Cuban. And so I learned from those experiences. And then I did home health for a long time in the Medicare space where you're at. Yeah. And I also worked at a rehab as an admissions director for 5 years. And there in the rehab is when I really learned the different family dynamics and that everybody needs something different. So when I was working in the rehab, I actually got the idea to open up Lotus Care at home. And it's a dream that I had for a really long time. I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so when I did open up Lotus Care at home, I started on the private side, and I just really focused on the personalization of the care and finding the perfect person to take care of, for example, your mom.
Right.
Like I need to understand what your mom likes, what she doesn't like, how you guys like things done around the house, what things make her happy, you know what I mean? For somebody who's 80 years old, you know what I mean? We know those things already. And so we've kind of focused that into Lotus and to making sure that we do find personalization of care because people are paying for a service.
Right.
And even through, like, if you're doing it through Medicaid or through Medicare, I feel like the side of the care that comes into what we do, like our nurses should be going in there knowing compassionately that's what we're doing. We're taking care of human beings, you know? And so for me, I saw a huge lack of that.
Right. So I want to ask you, so you worked at a rehab for 5 years. I didn't even know this. What rehab did you work at?
Jackson Plaza, which is now Jackson Gardens.
Yes. I'm sure you saw a lot of good things in there.
I know, yes. But I did learn a lot. And I did do a lot of nice things for a lot of the patients that were there, kind of like what we get off of when we go to the hospitals. Right. And so I learned that a lot of them don't have family or that a lot of them do have family and the families don't come around or their kids are busy or, whatever it is. So when I started Lotus, that was one of the things that I wanted to change. I wanted you to be able to continue to do work and focus on the roads and allow us to take off the stress of everything that's going on with your mom, for example. And for us to be able to provide her with someone that you trust, that you know is going to go and take care of her so that you can attend to your things. And then when you're there with her, you can be her son.
Got it.
You're not there to give her a shower or a bath or, you know what I mean? Sometimes that's uncomfortable.
Sure.
Or if you want to bring her a meal, it's for you to sit down and enjoy the meal with her, not have to cook it for her.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless it's something that you guys do together.
Right.
So we really have tried in the space to change.
So improve the quality of life for the family members.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a vital thing that you do. So you started in skilled home health. You worked at Total, right? Where I came from.
I did Medicare.
You did Medicare for many, many years. How did you end up in that situation? How did you find home health? I know the whole thing about your mother, but how did you end up at Total Home Health?
Okay, so I ended up at Total because I started working at a staffing company in Coral Gables, and they did physical therapy, and I had a little bit of background of that from my ex-husband. And so I started that job when we got separated, and he hated me for it, absolutely. And so I started working at the staffing. The owners there were they were never there. Right. So I kind of ran the entire company, and then they ended up wanting to sell, so I bought the staffing company from them, and I started staffing for Total.
How old were you when you did this?
I was, I think, 23 years old, yeah.
So you've always had the spirit of an entrepreneur.
Always. I've always wanted to make money and sell things. And
Was that your first business you ever owned?
Yes, the staffing company, which I quickly started working with Total. I opened up the keys for Total actually with my
I remember
therapist.
with Lee.
Lee was the director of nursing. Yes, love Lee.
Yep, Lee's a character.
Yes, I love her, and she's always wanting to help. Is what I love. Right. And I also learned that from her as well. Working for Total is that anybody who calls Lotus, for example, we try and help. Right. Even if you're not going to have services with me, you're not going to go with us. I try because educationally, it helps.
I think it's so important. I think, one of the things that we teach our account executives is take that extra step. help the person,
100%.
even if you're not going to get them as a client, or you're not going to get that referral from a case manager. Be a resource, be a person that's going to help, because number one is the right thing to do. Number two, it's going to go a long way with potentially eventually, if something does come their way, they're going to send it to you, or they're going to call you and say, my God, Amanda treated me so well, I should have gone with her from the get-go. And I tell people all the time, like, it is so important, go out of your way, even if you're not going to get that patient or that referral.
100%, because the connection is created with an emotion.
Sure.
So when you create an emotion in somebody and you make them feel some type of way, like
Absolutely.
in private, for example, I think it's across the board, but in private, I feel like people call us at their lowest point, right? Something just traumatic just happened with the family, or their mom or their dad just fell, and and everything just, got flipped around in their life.
Sure.
And so when we get them at that point, it's like that connection that you make with that person creates an emotion.
Absolutely.
So even if they talk to 17 other people, they remember that emotion that you made them and how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
And so that is something that they're going to tie to your company forever.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that we always talk about is people do business with people. They don't do it with the entity. So the connection thing is so super important.
It's like our marketers.
Absolutely.
The people in the hospital, who they care about is our marketers, not really the company.
Right, exactly. They're the face of the company.
Yeah,
we tell them all the
exactly.
time. Talk about, okay, so, I come from the skilled side. It's all I've ever done is skilled home health. But talk about the difference, because I think there's a lot of confusion when it comes to these patients in which way to go. Skilled is a limited amount of time. They're not going to be there forever, right? We're not we're not taking care of these patients forever. And they feel that they should or they're entitled to around the clock service. They're entitled to an HHA every single day and multiple hours. And the problem is that they call Medicare. Medicare tells them, no, you're entitled to all these services, when in reality, we don't have the money to be able to float that. So talk about private duty and the essence of private duty, and when does a patient or a family member need to consider private duty?
Okay, so on the Medicare side, from what I know, is that the skilled services are provided, and that goes with any insurance.
Right.
They give you an authorization, and that's what you can do and you can do. I explain this to my clients and my patients all the time. Now, with private, what private is wonderful with, because the skilled side, you guys can do visits. And private duty, we can do 24-hour nursing care.
Correct.
So if you have a family member, if you know somebody that needs 24-hour nurses there, we can do it, obviously, but they have to pay out of pocket.
Right.
I always tell everybody to get as much as they can from the insurance and what they already have coverage with, and then we can fill in moving forward. Also, when you have private duty, if I recommend this to everyone that I meet, you need a long-term care life insurance policy. I don't care who you are, what you do. Try and get that, because the majority of us are not going to have Medicaid when we get older. Just life is taking a turn now. I think financially that a lot of us are not going to be able to have the assistance.
I have spoken on other episodes about long-term care, because it's the same advice we're giving out. But can you elaborate a little bit deeper what these long-term care policies look like? Who are some of the carriers, and what type of services, or what do they pay?
So the long-term care life insurance policies is like a supplementary policy that you get alongside your life insurance policy. I do believe that you can buy them separately. There's a lot of them. There's Bankers, there's John Hancock, there's New York Life and Casualty. There's a lot of different ones. We work with all of them. And so what happens is that when we become a certain age, they provide us with the money to be able to provide care at home. So they pay the agency, which is me, and then I provide the service. If not, the client can also get reimbursed directly from the life insurance policy and then pay us for the services. Now, the patients that have Medicare and stuff like that, they can use their Medicare benefits to use whatever it is that they need to use, and then they have that extra on the side as well. And they work with a lot of agencies. They send out agencies to do like skilled assessments and stuff like that. So the long-term care is the life insurance policy. Now, with Medicaid, that's a whole different world, a whole different animal, right? You have to qualify. This policies that we take at Lotus Care at Home is something that you go paying over time. And nothing. I have patients that have 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day.
Is there a cap on
24
that?
hours.
Like, how long does that last for some of these policies?
Depends on what plan you have with them.
Got it.
And what you sign up for and what you pay monthly. You know what I mean?
Right.
To be in what year they allow you to tap into it. And then I know a lot of our clients, they have a 90-day window of when exactly it is. So a lot of them, what they do is they open up the policy and then they wait the 90 days and then they'll start with the services. Or they have to pay out of pocket for 90 days and then the insurance takes over.
Got it.
So it just really depends on what policy you get, but I do recommend it to everyone.
Got it.
Why? Because you never know down the road.
Right.
And because a lot of people that have this policy are so grateful that they do have it. And that's the first thing that we definitely ask. I always ask everybody.
Right.
And I tell them, if you don't know, ask your family member for the information, or try and call and see if there's a policy attached to whatever life insurance they have already.
And do you deal a lot with these patients not knowing that they even have these policies? Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
we
Okay.
do. So I recommend, honestly, for everybody to find out, especially you guys here.
Right.
That's something that's a whole nother thing to be able to help them.
Sure.
A whole nother way, not a thing, sorry.
Yeah, right.
A whole nother way to be able to help the clients
Got
and your patients. Because let's just say your aides are able to go in there and get a bath, but this patient needs bathing, dressing, light housekeeping, and they need to be taken to a doctor's appointment. If they have the long-term care hours, that's something that you can definitely call the insurance. We call with them on the phone. So it's not like we tell them, hey, call. No,
Right.
we have somebody from the office call and help advocate with them on the phone. You always have to call with the patient on the phone, Andy.
Yeah, of course.
But they give them all the information. If they want to start the services, they start the services. You send in clinical documentation and they approve it for them. And they send out their own nurses to do their evaluations and stuff. But I think it's great. And I think it's something that gives the families a lot of peace of mind because it's time that they can spend doing something else instead of worrying, what's happening at home with mom.
Makes a lot of sense. On the Medicaid side, which is a hot button down here in South Florida, how do patients apply for the long-term care and what kind of services or hours do they get approved the long-term care? And then I know there's so many, like it's confusing. How many insurance providers are there for long-term care down here in South Florida?
Okay, so there's Simply, Humana, Florida Community Care, the same ones that we have, like kind of the HMO names that you're very familiar with. There's a few more. But with the Medicaid, what I recommend for everybody to do is the Alliance for the Aging. That's where the whole thing starts, and it starts with the doctor.
Okay.
So this is a supplementary program that Medicaid has introduced, and it was relatively only designed for, or they were intending it for, Alzheimer's and dementia patients and patients with altered mental status, okay?
Right.
So that needed to be like the primary diagnosis. So what I've noticed over the years is that a lot of the patients that do have different diagnoses in different clinical situations, they are approving them and they are giving them the hours at home. You have to go through the Alliance for the Aging.
How long is the turnaround time usually?
It depends on what county you're in, to be honest. Miami, the last I heard was like 2 to 3 years, depending on the diagnosis. But there are community social workers that do help, and I do also always recommend that.
Sure.
Just because it's somebody who knows, and can educate the patients on what's happening and can kind of help them with the follow-up. A lot of different like clinics and like a lot of these big medical centers, they do have like in-house social workers to help the patients. Medicaid also provides them with a social worker that they have. So then you go through the Alliance of the Aging, the doctor has to send in documentation, they do an interview at home, they do an evaluation over the phone, which they have like their own system of how they put you like on the waiting list.
Sure.
And then it just depends from there. So a lot of it has to do with diagnoses, you know what I mean? Like what clinically is happening with the patient, if they really do have a need for care at home. Because if there's a family member that stays home, that person is going to be deemed a responsible and reliable person to take care of the patient.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is really for patients that do not have someone at home to take care of them. And then the beautiful thing about the long-term care with Medicaid is that you can use it for an adult daycare. You can use it for like the long-term care at home, for the hours at home. You can use it for
even skilled. You can get nurses.
I think that
physical
now
therapy,
they're doing some of the skilled stuff too through that. I haven't heard about that yet, but I think that is something that they're starting to incorporate now. And so it's something that if the patient is eligible for it, I definitely do recommend
even assisted living as well, right? This is the assisted living podcast. Long-term care pays towards your room and board.
Yes, and the waiver program,
the waiver
all
for
of that,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I'm sorry because I know about ALF.
Right.
Because actually I was with somebody who had his mom had 5. So I used to go to the ALFs and I saw all of that as well, and it made me very sad to see how like sometimes how patients they don't have family and then the ALF becomes their family.
Absolutely.
And I think it's beautiful because it's so mentally stimulating for them, and it's like another part of their life where they make friendships and they really do get to enjoy, you know what I mean, being a part of a home where there's other people just like them and they never want to leave.
Absolutely.
They never want to leave.
I know.
And the caregivers become their family.
Yep.
And they never want to leave. When their families come, it's like a little field trip, and they come right back. They're dying to go back home to the ALF. No, I love ALFs.
So one of the things, obviously we're talking about assisted living now. If I'm a family member, right, I have my loved one in an assisted living facility, why would I use private duty? They should be getting care anyways at the assisted living, correct?
Yes, but no. Yes and no. So, and I say this in a rehab, in a hospital setting. I say this in any different type of setting. So in an ALF, it's kind of just, you can compare it maybe to a larger rehab where there's one nurse to 10 to 12 patients. Right. In an ALF, you could have the same setting. Also, if the patient has doctor's appointments, If you want somebody there one-on-one to be able to advocate for them, the caregiver, if the ALF allows it, especially in the bigger ALFs like
Yep.
what you have,
Yep.
you can send in a caregiver to take care of the patient, kind of like they would do in a rehab. We do it a lot for ILFs as well, independent living facilities, just because it's another pair of eyes and ears there for the
Sure.
family. It's somebody there making sure that the patient's really not going to fall, making sure that they are getting their medications on time when they're supposed to. And them assisting with the patient whatever they need, so they don't have to wait on someone else to come in and do it for them. Because I have heard, a lot of stories about those patients
Right.
laying in the bed for too long, and the nurses can't get to them on time
Sure.
in a hospital or rehab setting.
Yeah.
And then in the ALF, it depends on the size of the house and how many, employees they have. But it could happen the same way. And so if somebody really needs the one-on-one, I highly recommend it, just because it gives you peace of mind and it assures you that they're going to be safe.
Absolutely, it's more eyes and ears in the community, and if you can afford it, I suggest it as well. It's such a peace of mind to have somebody else
Oh yeah,
that's there
100%.
with your loved one. Let's talk about the process, right? I call Lotus. I say, hey, I got mom. She had a fall. She's coming out of the hospital. She's living alone. Her dad passed away 3 years ago. Talk about the process of assigning a caregiver to them, and how do you go about that, because it has to be a right fit. So how do you go through that process?
Okay, I love this question. I love this question because in private, it's so different than what you do, Andy.
Right.
So what's the process? And Lotus, nothing. You call in, you give me all the information that you just gave me. Obviously, our conversation is not just going to be informational, okay? I need to understand who you are and where you're coming from. I need to understand what your family member loves and what they don't love, and what it is that you guys are needing as a family and as a whole, okay? So then I'm going to go to my team and I'm going to regurgitate all this information to them, and we're going to find you the perfect caregiver. I have a system in the office that we use, that we kind of break down who the caregivers are and we place them into different, situations of where we think that they would be the brightest and shine the brightest with the patient. So we're big pushers on people having independence and regaining their independence
Right.
again. So I feel like having the right person in the right place and in the right home changes the narrative of everything that has to do with the care for the patient and how they progress. So we obviously find the perfect caregiver, and we send the patient in. So I do have a policy as well. If you don't like the person I'm sending to you because of chemistry, because of whatever the reason is, you call us right away and we change it.
Got it.
Everything is personalized down to the amount of hours that you want, down to what you want them, you know what I mean? If you want them wearing, a lot of people don't like the scrubs in private. They like for them to wear normal clothes. So we want to understand what that's like, and we want to find out what the perfect person sounds like for you and your family so we can send that. And I feel like we say it all the time. Like every time we get a new patient, it's like one of the girls says, it's like we're going to war. It's like
Right.
everyone starts calling and, you know what I mean, sending out. So we send out the documentation, and then we also call, and my staffing director calls herself and gets a better idea of what exactly they're looking for. She introduces herself. We even go out to the home sometimes and we do home evaluations if the family will allow it.
Amazing.
Why do we do that? I need to understand what the environment is
Sure,
like for me to understand how I can better provide care. I think that's a huge, huge thing in private duty, especially just because there's so many different family dynamics and so many different home situations and a step down and whatever it is. And if you don't know that that's there and your caregiver, you know what I mean, doesn't report that back to you, it could be a huge problem.
Absolutely.
But that's how we find the perfect caregiver. We definitely personalize everything down to whatever it is that they want, however it is that they need it.
Do you feel your competitors are doing that, or you guys really go above and beyond to provide?
I know I'm at everybody's that is a patient of mine's beck and call. I'm on call, and so is my team 24/7. I don't know what everybody else is doing, Andy. All I do know is that everybody that that has been brought to Lotus, and this is how I ask for things. I ask for every patient that is supposed to be a part of Lotus to come to Lotus, and to be sent every caregiver that's meant to take care of those patients.
Right.
So it's like we're going to war, and then I hear crickets. Like once we match them with the perfect person in the family and everybody's happy, it's crickets from there on out, and it's longevity and that as
Yeah.
well. And then the consistency creates familiarity.
Right.
So when you're finding a caregiver too, you need to. I tell the families all the time. I said we do it down to like you can do whatever you want. You can do a minimum. We have a minimum of 4 hours. You can do all the way up to 24 hours, but you can use us for a week. You can use me for 3 days,
Right.
or 6 months, whatever it is that you need. But what does that create? When I tell them with the schedules and everything, and I explain everything to them, when we get into depth of everything, is that for them to have a consistent person and a familiar person, that whatever the schedule is going to be, has to be something
Well,
that's consistent
and it's so important, right, for the continuity of care, even for their
for the
well-being,
patient.
for the patient. Because if you start changing caregivers, that turns into a disaster. I've seen it so many times over my
It's
career.
it's
It's
horrifying.
horrible, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of uncertainty. They get anxious. They don't feel
Does that
comfortable with the
happen a
person.
lot in
Oh
Medicare?
yeah, a lot, a lot. So, believe
Why
it
do
or
you
not,
think that that happens? If you don't mind my question.
people want to feel comfortable and safe. Like I think they want to feel safe, and if they meet somebody that they really connected with, and all of a sudden you pull them out and you bring somebody in, that just upheaves it. Even if that person is good at what they do, it throws it off. Like well, we do a lot of therapy cases, right? Physical therapy
Mm-hmm.
cases. We never so our physical therapist will do the evaluation,
Okay.
but then we have a PTA, and that PTA follows all the way through discharge, unless they're going on vacation or something, and
You don't make any
we try to
changes.
communicate it with the patient and the family before he goes on vacation or she. So we're very cautious of making sure that we stay with the continuity of care with that person that's seeing them, because if not, it causes a lot of issues and problems.
No, and I feel like it creates a mental setback too on their progress that they
100%.
make. So there's another thing I say a lot too is that patients that have a lot of support, and I feel that just from their caregivers, from family, from friends, from whoever, when they have a lot of support, they get better.
Absolutely, and even from an emotional standpoint, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these patients are depressed. Imagine, all of a sudden your life got flipped upside down.
Exactly.
You're starting to lose your dignity. The things that you do every single day is gone, and now you're depressed, right? But this person comes into your life that helps you and makes your quality of life better, and now you're feeling good. I saw it with my own mother. My mother had a major stroke when I was 3 years old, and thank God for home health, because I wouldn't be able to be here today without it. And there were therapists, and there was one in particular that took over my mom's case, and my mom was a different person,
I
a
love that.
completely different person, to the point that the therapist discharged her and they stayed friends, and she would come see her and come to the house and have coffee, and that was my
Wow.
mom. Yeah.
I love
So
that.
those are the impacts that people don't see behind the scenes of what truly these clinicians and these caregivers bring to the table when
Yeah.
it comes to taking care of these patients. It's those type of little things. It's not only you're gonna get them better, but the emotional psychological part is so important.
100%.
Yeah.
And you know what I tell them all? To become an extended family member.
Absolutely.
I'm like, a part of their life and
And
their
I want to
family.
come out with this. My mom never bought me a birthday gift. She would buy the
The
therapist
therapist
the
a birthday
gift.
gift?
Yes, 100%. I'm like, ni a mí me compra algo, pero a ella sí. And it was always a joke. I'd rather her buy the therapist before she would buy me. But
But that's amazing to hear. And then, like I said,
yeah,
the familiarity, and that creates longevity.
100%.
She's always going to call that therapist.
Absolutely.
She's
They would call.
always going to call that
She would call you and
nurse.
say, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on with you? En qué anda? What are you doing
Yes.
today?"
They're
And,
always going to call that
and she would pick up
caregiver.
the phone. I'm like, she's really taking out of the yeah, because they formed that
It's a
connection. It becomes
bond.
family. Yeah,
Yes.
it is a bond. Absolutely. Even her home health aide, same thing. She was family. I mean, she would come over. We would have her over for Christmas,
Yes.
Thanksgiving. She was part of the family.
It's like what you say, how when you send your kids to school, they're with their teachers all day, and
Yeah.
they're kind of raising them for us.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing when it
Same
comes to
thing.
that. It's
Same thing.
they're when the family can't be there, and that's the part of private too that I like so much, because the families really need the daughter, the son that has her own daughter, her
Right.
own son, her husband, her own home,
Career.
her own career, her
Yeah.
own whatever it is going on.
Yeah.
And I feel like Medicaid understood that
Right.
with the long-term care. Because that's something, because the families need a break. Okay, it's like now that we're doing the kids, I see it a lot with the moms that they're dealing with this
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how you can work and have your entire life you organized and good, and then have this situation also with no help.
You can't have a successful economy, and this is why Medicaid did what they did, without being able to help our seniors, because you need people in the workforce and the labor market.
Hmm.
And if you don't provide them with help, then they got to stay back home. Think about the impact financially that has on an economy if you're not providing help to these seniors that truly need it. Now that daughter can go out into the workplace and create, right, and bring money, and all the other trickle down effects of if that person's not being provided help, then it impacts the economy tremendously. I always say that, like, healthcare is the backbone of the economy.
Oh yes, 100%,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
And without it, I don't know where I don't with especially with like services like ours. I don't know where our hospitals would be. I
absolutely.
don't know where our rehab centers would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think about that sometimes too, and I'm like, these people have to go back home. Like
Mm-hmm.
not you know what I mean? That's where the hospitals sometimes when they discharge and stuff like that, it's so important for us to be able to get there
Absolutely.
within the time frame that we're supposed to get there, and for our nurses to be available
So
to
important.
be there. I also I have another thing with private too. If whoever the competitors are or whatever, I strongly believe in paying your employees very well. Everybody who works for me gets paid very, very well, especially my caregivers. Why? If I pay you better, you're going to work better.
Absolutely.
And if you own a private duty company or something, they know. You know what I mean? A lot of them, they ask, or they'll talk to the patients and ask them, how much are you paying and how much am I getting paid? And so they also understand that we need to make money as, as a backbone to be able to maintain the office
Absolutely.
and all of our overhead. But at the same time, keep your caregivers happy. I just went to a conference, and I feel that was one of the main things that the majority of people that came from the entire nation were talking about, Andy, was the lack of caregivers.
Right.
And with everything that's going on right now, politically, okay, a lot of them are being sent back home.
Absolutely.
And so the ones, that we can keep here, that we can keep them happy and we can take care of them as caregivers, because they are the heart and soul
Absolutely.
of what we do. Without them, we don't have anything.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's the balance.
Yeah.
So I do pay them very well. I heard the other day, actually, why I brought that up is because some lady was like, do you know you're the best paying agency? I said, no, I had no idea. I said, really? She said, yeah. And I said, I want to thank you for that, because it makes me want to do more for you. And it also helps on staffing, because when you call and you're offering $18, $19 an hour, they're running.
Right.
I'm not, you know what I mean? If I pay you, yes, the state mandate is $15, right? I don't know if that's changed. But if I call you and I offer you 16, that's what everybody else is doing. Now, if I'm offering you 17, you're going to come, you know what I mean? And you're going to want to stay with me and work with me and take on other cases for me. And so I feel like that also comes as another part of what we do in the ALFs and just in home health, and everything that we do is taking care of the people that we do have in the field, because.
Oh, you have to pay them. Well, that's a little different because our margins keep getting reduced, so you only so much you can do. But we're one of the better.
Because it's state mandated, right?
Yeah.
Where you guys can pay them too?
Or no, the thing is that our margins keep getting reduced. Like our revenue from Medicare keeps going down.
Okay.
So we have no margin. Like if we were to overpay on the clinical side, we would go out of business. Like that's just the way it is. It's more like an HMO model.
You guys don't even break even at this point.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're struggling with that. So
hopefully that's something that can change. Hopefully we can get some.
I think so. I think that you got to get creative with your operations. AI coming into play is going to help out significantly.
Yes.
We've outsourced to the Philippines. We've gotten creative to stay alive in this, but you're seeing a lot of smaller companies having to get out of this business because they can't survive the amount of changes that have happened and the amount of reduction in revenue.
And it's happening at the speed of light.
100%.
At the speed of light.
Yeah, every year is a 5 to 7.5%.
The entire conference was all about AI.
Yeah.
The majority of everything.
Absolutely.
Because that's where the world is going now.
Oh, it's changing every day. What it was 3 months ago is not what it is today. And what it is today, it's not going to be tomorrow. Like it's continuing to evolve. And I tell business owners all the time, you better get in line because you're going to get left behind.
But you know what? A lot of people are scared, and what I've learned, because I was scared with the AI too a little bit. I know we talked about this, but I was scared because I feel like what I do is so personalized that the personal touch is much needed, and that an AI couldn't do that for me. I do have an AI now that she does do. I know. Yeah, she's amazing. And so what I think it's doing now is people are starting to adapt to it, and they're starting to accept the AI aspect a little bit more in what we do, because when they finally get to the human connection after they speak to the AI, I just had this happen yesterday, the feedback is not negative.
Right.
It's very much like, wow, I really think that's amazing that you have that, and I really enjoyed speaking to your AI receptionist.
Sure.
And I'm so happy that she was able to give me as much information as she was able to give me, that maybe somebody who's sitting in your office as a receptionist has 7 other calls coming in that she's not able to give that information as clear and as patient and as kind as an AI can.
Agreed. And they're dedicated to you because you can have 100 calls
and they're talking to the 100 calls
100%, and that makes all the difference at the same time. So that makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, I think we're accustomed to what we're used to as human beings, and we never want to like get out of our comfort zone. But everything's heading towards this, and I tell my people all the time, sure, they don't like it today, but they're gonna have to like it because every company's gonna do it. It's gonna start doing it. It makes.
But the patients are starting to adapt too.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
The AI's gotten better too.
Yes.
Like. It's better.
It's not robotic.
It's not robotic. It's not like when you used to call Amex and you repeat the same thing and they didn't pick it up. Now you have a full-fledged conversation like this, and you think you're speaking to a person.
Yes.
And they know everything about your case. Like that's the crazy part because they go into your software, right? So it's just yeah, man, it's changing.
Yeah, tying it into the software is where it's at.
So in closing, let me ask you this. Where do you see your business in the next 5 years? The baby boomers in 2030 is going to be 80 million. 80 million people, Americans, are going to be over 65 or over in 2030. Where do you see your business?
I see my business booming, Andy. I've always said there's enough to go on for everybody. It's just who does it differently.
Right.
And the way that you do things and the way that you speak to people, and you've taught me about culture.
Right.
I can thank you for that. So I feel like it goes a lot into your culture. I see Lotus across the state of Florida. I am going to stop my own reign on Lotus at a certain point of Florida, but I do want to get into franchising. So I see this going, and what I do is I have a lot of women that work for me that are mothers, and so I'm a very big on giving opportunities. I
Sure.
love to help people, and so I feel that with Lotus, it's going to be kind of like this, not like a regular franchise, right? Like I'm going to give opportunities to people to maybe do a co-own or to own a percentage
I
of
love
it.
that.
And they make money off of that, but they also learn, and they also get to make a difference. And I have a lot of the women that work for me that I've already in my head, I'm like, okay, so I want to give a piece of this to this person.
Sure.
Because they've gained my trust. And Lotus is that's what's part of it. And it's
Right.
very healing. And a lot of the women that work for me have been through a lot of things. And they say that I am, obviously the Lotus, but they say that if it wasn't for me, that they wouldn't be where they are today.
Right.
And so I see that, and I see that as an opportunity. And so Lotus is, I don't really know, Andy, where it's going, but it's going wherever it needs to go. It's gonna bloom wherever it needs to bloom.
I love that answer. I love that answer. Where can people find you and find Lotus?
We have a website. We're on Google. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well, and then we're on YouTube as well.
So we'll put that on the description of the show. We'll put all your links there so
Thank
people
you.
can find you. But
And
man,
thank
this
you
was a
so
great
much for having
this was
me.
a great conversation, and thank you for
Yes.
doing this. I think it's important that we continue to educate
100%.
our patients, our families, because they're going through so much, and it's a
And
lot
there's
of
a huge
information.
lack of information too. It's not given to them when they
Is
need
not
it.
given to it. So I think that's the reason why we started the Assisted Living podcast, is to bring this information to the masses and get people like you in the industry that are experts that have been doing it a long time and doing it for the right reasons. And
Yeah.
I think it's just super important. But again, I thank you for taking the time and
No, and
sitting
thank
down
you.
with us. All right.
I loved being here.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, comment. Love your feedback. But hit that subscribe button. We're really trying to grow the channel and get this information out to the masses. Catch you guys on the next one.